Welcome to the EarthWorks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joel Simmons, and this is the EarthWorks podcast. We are actually live in Myrtle Beach for the Myrtle Beach convention of both sports turf and the golf course industry. And we happen to be very lucky to have an old friend, Patrick Irish Coakley. And I've been told the first thing I have to ask you is, where the hell did Irish come from? It might be kind of obvious because of your background and your life in Boston, but is there a story here?
Oh, there's definitely a story.
I was afraid of that. So what's the story?
Well, this might be the first time I have not told this story over a beer, but
go get me some beer, Jack.
I'll make an exception for this one. So this nickname was given to me by my first ever general manager in baseball.
Okay.
So this is Albany, Georgia, circa 1995.
And how old were you?
I was 23.
And you didn't get Irish until you were 23?
I did not get Irish until I was 23.
Okay.
So the way this happened was, I'll give you the most abridged version I can here. But the young kids, the high school kids that worked at the ballpark were into boxing. And this guy in Albany, Georgia built a ring out in the woods.
Oh, no.
And he would have these kids.
I'm not sure this is good.
Yeah. Well, it gets, so.
Yeah.
And he actually did a pretty good job. He would referee and make sure the kids weren't killing each other. Right. And he'd stop it before it got crazy. But they wanted me to come out there and box. And I said, I was in Albany, Georgia with a fresh Massachusetts accent that was very thick. Like, no, I'm not going out in the woods with you.
Yeah,
in a boxing. This is not going to happen.
Mama taught you well.
Right. So this one kid, they decided that he and I should box. Okay. And so my GM got all into this.
Oh, great.
And he printed up.
He didn't
boards.
Like you?
Yeah, I don't know. He was actually from Taunton, Mass. So,
so he knew.
Oh, yeah, he knew.
Okay.
So he dubbed me, and he put this on a poster board, Irish Pat from Southie. I'm not from Southie, but he just decided.
He decided you were because it sounded tougher.
So we ended up having a boxing match before a game. Like, there's fans in the stands, and we're out beyond the right field
in the woods, beating each other up.
Yeah, having this boxing match. Well, then the nickname stuck, and it grew legs because later on in the year we were going to have a used car giveaway, a very common minor league baseball thing.
Right.
But this became Irish Pat's used car giveaway.
Oh, great.
And he had me dress up as a leprechaun and give away used cars on the field.
And you're right, you were doing this thing.
This carried with me. I did this for a good 8 years.
Oh, that's too funny.
Because he came with me to Kannapolis, and then a new GM took over, saw the promotion and loved it, and wouldn't let me give it up. And I actually went into Altoona doing this.
Really?
So, yeah.
So you've always been Irish Pat.
So I've been Irish Pat, and many people in minor league baseball don't even know my real name.
Most important question is, what happened in the boxing match?
Oh, I won.
Of course. And he was probably taller and bigger and all that.
Yeah.
But you're Irish, so you know how to scrap. Yeah.
And I had a new appreciation for the
That's too funny.
Good shape that those guys are in, because I was spent.
Exactly. But then you went right to work from there.
Yeah.
Any blood? Any broken bones or teeth?
No, nothing major. Good. Just couldn't breathe, and I had to just hop into the concession stand.
And just go right to work and
exactly.
be on the field. So you've been in minor league baseball. You graduated at the University of Massachusetts and got right into minor league baseball. And that's really what we want to talk about today. Is the state of minor league baseball as it is. And it's obviously gone through a whole bunch of changes in the last couple of years. But let's go through your background a little bit, because you've got I've listed here your resume, and it's quite extensive. So you've got a chance to, so you came right out of college. Was your college degree a specific sports turf degree?
It's not sports turf, it was sports management.
Sports management, okay. Yes. And was the intent to be in this side of the industry or in the office?
No, it was my entire career has been accidental.
So aren't all of ours?
Yeah, really. So the intention was to become a minor league baseball general manager.
Of course.
But I discovered pretty quickly I did not like being in an office.
Yeah.
And somehow I found that I had an aptitude for taking care of a field.
Oh, there you go.
Point. So About the time I got to Myrtle Beach, that's when I decided to strictly stay with just turf.
And in the management program, was there turf management involved at all?
Nothing.
So it was all business.
It was a business degree.
So where did the turf come from? How did you learn how to do that? Just
Hands on.
So somebody gave you a mower and some guys and a bucket of dirt and said, go to it.
That's basically it.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I had some good people that I worked with coming up. And when I got to Myrtle Beach and got my first head job, it was a matter of just reading everything that I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
And then I got involved with STMA. And so that you get the natural mentoring that goes along with that.
You got to meet some guys that could help you out.
Yeah.
So you came out of school and you took a job at the Albany, Georgia.
It was the Albany Polecats.
Polecats. There's some great names in minor league baseball. We got to get them all out. We got to get them all out. So you walk into this place and you know nothing about turf, and you're a crew guy.
No, at that time I was an intern.
Okay.
And
on the field though.
Not on the field, no.
Okay,
this was a front office.
All right, so you were going for business. All right.
Yeah, and an intern in minor league baseball, you basically go wherever they tell you, and that could be And sometimes I spent some time in the field. I was in the concession stand helping with that operation. I did a little bit of tickets, not very much. And it was my second year when we got to Kannapolis, North Carolina, and that was. It was the Piedmont Bull Weevils.
The Bull Weevils.
The Bull Weevils.
What's that logo look like?
Oh, God. Yeah, the craziest looking bug you ever saw.
I want that shirt.
So it's at that time when I was in stadium operations, but that incled the fields.
So this is now no longer an internship. You're now
correct. That was my first real job.
Okay.
An actual full-time employee.
And came in as what? What was your job at Kannapolis?
It was another long title. It was Assistant Director of Stadium Operations.
So you weren't actually doing the grass.
I was.
You were,
at that
okay.
time, because at that time it encompassed the stadium and the field.
All right.
So we took care of everything.
So you're new to the grass world, and they threw you into this. That had to be incredibly frightening. I mean, did you know anything about grass? I mean, you came out of a business program, and they threw you onto so they were just saying, get out of the office. We don't want you down here. Right. Go cut the grass or something.
Yeah, and that's...
What was it like? I mean, what was your memory of your first couple of days doing that? I mean, it had to be overwhelmingly frightening, I'm guessing.
Well, at that age of my life, I wasn't afraid of much of anything.
You're Irish Pat, for God's sake. How good it be?
And, very headstrong and stubborn. So luckily I had the director of stadium ops. He had a background, with the city of Albany, Georgia, and took care of many of the fields there.
Right.
So he was making more of the technical decisions.
Gotcha.
And I was the labor.
So you did what he told you, but you learned.
Yeah, exactly. And, here's 8 bags of fertilizer, you're going to put them out.
Yeah.
And over time, I learned what those bags were, what we're actually doing.
Was there anything in those first years, like you just had no idea what this project or what this tool was or what this, was there anything that's just really like, what the heck are they talking about here?
Many times.
Building the mound, you had to learn how to do that.
Oh, yeah. And that was completely
foreign.
Yeah, it's like, all right, there's a hole, here's some clay, and we got to make this work. And
what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. And, and it's just like anything else. I don't know when it actually clicked, but over time, you do this every single day. You start to figure out, figuring out that, you need water to make all this work.
Yeah.
And,
make some play.
Yeah, it wasn't until I got to Myrtle Beach when I realized how much I had learned over those 4 years in Kannapolis, and started to put it all together.
So are all these jumps that you were doing, were they related, or were they all separate operations and no connection, no relationship, no ownership tie-in or anything?
Yeah,
You were at what, 5, 6 different minor league baseball facilities, right?
Right.
Actually, 7 different minor league baseball facilities.
Well, it was a mixture of a few things. In Albany, that team was sold.
Okay. And
became the Delmarva Shorebirds.
Oh, okay.
All right. So
you know them, yeah.
Yep, very familiar. So that's how our GM got the job in Kannapolis, and he just brought myself and a couple other staff members with him. So when I left Kannapolis, I had been there 4 years, and I had pretty much gone as high as I could go, and I needed a change. So that's when I did a quick stop in Erie, Pennsylvania.
And who were they? I just love the names.
That was the Erie Seawolves.
Oh, the Seawolves.
Yes.
Okay, good.
And that was my big break. And about 2 months in, I got fired from my big break.
Oh, good. For fighting?
So not for fighting. I gave that up.
All right, good.
It was I laugh about it now because it was a twist of fate that was actually the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah, usually those things are, right?
Yeah.
It's just designed by that.
Yeah, it was, I had become assistant general manager of that team, and me and the GM showed up late for a league meeting at the winter meetings, at the baseball winter meetings. Right. Our owner was not impressed, so we were asked to go.
There and then?
They waited a couple days, but there was no mystery what was going to happen. Yeah. So anyway, when I got to Myrtle Beach, that's where my wife-to-be was. She was in minor league baseball.
Oh, really? Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah, and she was working for the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. She was the original staff that opened up that ballpark.
Oh, okay.
So
she was in the front office?
She was in the front office. So at the time, the groundskeeper there was Bill Butler.
Oh, really?
And he told Jen, look, if I need an assistant, if he's got any kind of grounds background, I can teach him what he needs to do. And so bring him down, and boom, there it is. I was hired, and I was free. I had nothing going on. So
happened to be available.
I happened to be available. So I'm like, and it was, I went down there honestly more chasing the lady.
Shocking.
Than anything
else. Always
else,
about the girl. It's always about the girl.
And then I started working on the field again.
Yeah.
And I realized, wow, I really missed this. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm just going to concentrate on this.
Stay in grass. Yeah. Stay in grass. So from there, you went back up to Pennsylvania, down to Asheville. What's just for sake of my humor, the Altoona team was?
They were the Curve.
Of course, because that's the horseshoe curve right there.
Exactly.
And then Asheville?
The Tourists.
The Tourists?
Yes.
Like in people coming into Myrtle Beach?
Yes.
That's a great name. And then you ended up at Ripken, where you and I met.
Yes.
And we started doing some business together, and I got to know you fairly well. And a lot of people probably know of Cal Ripken, obviously, from the Orioles. Mm-hmm. And what would explain the Ripken facility? I mean, that's a pretty unique facility.
It is. And it's a really, it's a fun place. It's, so at the time I came in, you had the Aberdeen Ironbirds.
Okay.
That
just keep saying the names. Just name all the names you can think of. The banana slugs. That's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah. Well, funny. Let me add to this whole story. All of these teams, I have one time or another had played the mascot on all of these.
So of course,
like 7 different mascots. Yeah.
So that's too funny.
So we didn't escape that task either. So.
Oh, I wish I had pictures of all those.
Oh, yeah. Especially in Albany, Georgia, if you're wearing a full-on skunk costume in 100-degree heat waving at traffic.
Wait, your mascot was a skunk?
That's what a polecat is.
Oh.
That's what I didn't even know that.
That's too funny.
That's what they call them down south.
So they don't call them skunks, it's just a polecat. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I guess that makes perfect. So you're wearing the skunk costume out in 100-degree temperature.
Oh, yeah, just waving at traffic. But I got a free sandwich out of it.
Oh, well, that's all worth it. Yeah. You lost 5 pounds, but got a free sandwich out of the whole thing. So talk about Ripken, because I find it a fascinating facility.
Yeah, so you had the professional facility that we were the low-A affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles.
Okay.
And they played at the stadium. Across the street, you had, it was 8 fields on that side. And it was youth baseball, anywhere from, 9 to 12 years old.
Right.
And it was just a baseball factory.
Yeah.
We played, let me see, each one of those fields saw well over 300 games every year.
Really?
Yeah. In the early days when I first got there, we would play well over 100 games before the Ironbirds ever showed up.
Wow.
So, we started to taper that off. Part of the communication I had to do because we were just destroying the field.
Yeah. Dirt. You're down to dirt by the end.
Right. And then the pro guys come in, and we had about a week to put it together, and it was virtually impossible. So you have, the big part of the business is tournament baseball.
Right.
So starting about St. Patrick's Day and it ends around Thanksgiving.
Oh my goodness!
So in the time when school's in, we get a ton of teams from Jersey, from Pennsylvania, all that. Considering the population density within 3 hours,
right.
You had a lot of people that.
And this was in Aberdeen, Pennsylvania, which is Maryland, which is kind of northeast Maryland. So you're in that tri-state area: Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey's not far.
Exactly.
So you got a lot of pull from a lot of different places.
Oh yeah.
Probably had people coming from all over, didn't you?
Ton from Long Island.
Oh, really?
Up right in the city. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then once the summer hit, then we'd get them from all over the country.
Oh, wow.
And so it went from, we would have mostly weekend tournaments. And then about the time, school gets out, about Father's Day, then it was 7 days a week.
How on earth can you possibly manage that? I mean, how do you keep grass growing when you've got that much pressure?
Well, I learned a lot
in
what grass could do.
And doesn't do.
Exactly. Yeah. And, a lot of that is just, we changed some things around, got a good feeding program, we started with that. I learned, in professional facilities, I didn't have a lot of weed pressure. I mean, I would pop it out with my knife and throw it over the fence.
Yeah,
that was, but,
the fence was weedy.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We didn't care about that side.
So you had recovery issues. I mean, you constantly. I remember going there and talking to you about, all we ever talked about is how do we get this thing to recover.
Right, and that's the big thing. And when you really don't have time, and you're just for that 3-month period when you're 7 days a week, that was when it was really rough.
Right.
And you had to, well-timed aeration.
So talk about this aerification. I mean, how on earth can you squeeze an aerification in when you've got that much stuff going on?
And that's the part where you simply figure it out. I learned.
Did they give you any direction, or were they ever telling you not to aerify? Or
no. That's one really good thing they did. I operated pretty autonomously.
All right.
So my boss gave me. There was a period of time where we had some battles and we had to figure this out. But once my program started working and they saw the results, then it got easier and easier to get
you were
this
getting
stuff
it done.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Of course, you were using EarthWorks, so that was making it a whole lot easier.
Absolutely.
But we don't have to talk about that. That's a cheap shot. I apologize. Talk about the one thing I always loved about that facility is that each one of those fields was kind of mirrored after a professional stadium, right?
Correct.
So you had what? Camden Yards, obviously.
Yeah. So Cal Senior's Yard was the Camden Yards replica.
Okay.
And if you remember the hotel that they have there, that was specifically designed that way to imitate the factory buildings of Camden. So you had Nationals and Citizens. Those were the part that we call the quads, and they were hybrid fields with natural grass outfields, synthetic turf infields.
Okay, so you had some synthetic in those fields. Right. I'd forgotten that.
Yankee Stadium, which was the other adult-size field, that was a full synthetic field.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, my favorite part was the 3 what we call the lower fields, because you go down this path, and these 3 all-natural fields, and it was Fenway, Old Memorial Stadium, and Wrigley Field.
Wow.
And we actually, Jack, if you remember, you had some good ivy for a while growing on that fence. The winters in Maryland eventually killed it, but it was kicking for a while.
And you were hitting that with the liquids.
We were, yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
By the way, Jack Higgins is sitting in the room with us, just in case you hear a strange voice in the background. But anyway, so I mean, whose branding was this? Was this all from Cal? Was he the?
Yes, I think this was the whole idea.
That was his vision
behind Ripken baseball.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, he never played at Old Memorial Stadium, which is Baltimore. I think he came into Orioles, or am I wrong? Did he?
No, he started at Old Memorial.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
okay.
Because let me see, when was he Rookie of the Year? The year they won the world title in '83.
Yeah.
And Camden Yards wasn't built until the '90s, I believe.
Oh, it was that long? Oh, he was there that long?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I think you know this, but I grew up in Baltimore, and I spent an awful lot of time at Memorial Stadium as a kid. I was a huge baseball fan, and I will age myself, but I was at the 69, 70, and 71 World Series.
Oh, nice.
Which was pretty interesting. And I'll tell the story quickly, but it's one of my favorite. I actually ran into the shortstop from the Mets from 69. whose name has now escaped me, of course.
I can't think of it either.
Hurlson.
Okay.
So he was at a meeting. That's not his name, but we'll get it there. Look it up, Jack. Quick. Be the producer here. And I have his. Anyway, I was at a meeting in Long Island, and he happened to be the keynote speaker. So I wanted to meet him, and I got a way to sit next to him at dinner. And my son had just been born. So I got to sit down next to him. We had a couple pops, and I was talking about my son. I was all excited. And I turned to him. I said, "Finally, I got to tell you, man, I hate your guts." And he looked at me and said, "Orioles fan?" I said, "Not only that, but I was there. I was at game 1 and 2, and I had tickets for 6 and 7." And he started laughing. We laughed, and he wrote me this note. Hey, my son's Andrew. He goes, "Andrew, be good in life. Sorry for breaking your dad's heart in '69."
From
Bud Harrelson.
Bud Harrelson. Okay.
And so I signed Buddy Harrelson, and it was a wonderful experience. But yeah, I grew up. My father's actually best friend was Bill O'Donnell, who was the announcer for the Orioles back in those days. So I got to sit up. I almost got hit in the head with a Kurt Bluffrey. Nobody will remember that name. A Kurt Bluffrey foul ball up in the announcer's box, and I still have the ball somewhere at home. But anyway, I apologize. And Buddy, if you're watching, I apologize as well for not being able to get your name out fast. But, so they had all these iconic stadiums built, and some of them were hybrids, and some of them were grass. And then you still had the main stadium. That was where, the professionals were playing, I assume. The kids weren't playing on the big stadium.
Correct. They would win
for like a World Series kind of
for the first March, April, May.
Right.
They would have tournament ball up on the stadium field.
Gotcha.
That's why we would have over 100 games before
Gotcha.
the Ironbirds came in. The Ironbirds played in June, July, and August, and then in the fall we'd let the tournament come over again. So
was Ripken baseball is different? Explain this real quick. Ripken baseball is different than Little League baseball. There's a little difference in terms of Little League.
Yeah, it's all about. It's like governing body is the best thing.
But it's also size of the field and
correct
and some other rules in the game.
Yeah, because some of the things the Ripkens wanted the kids to learn things like leading, things like pitching from the stretch. Yeah, they thought that they could learn that at an earlier age.
The mound was back further, or was it close?
It was the same distance.
The same distance.
I want to say, well, you know what? It was a couple feet further back than Little League baseball. So Little League baseball, they just max out at 60-foot bases.
Yeah.
Cal Seniors we had 70-foot bases for the 11 and 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
9 and 10-year-olds had the 60-foot bases. So it almost slowly started bumping them up and making the field slightly bigger, instead of going from the 60-foot diamond directly to a 90-foot diamond.
Right.
That's a tough
it was kind
transition.
of an intermediate, yeah.
Exactly.
And that was Cal's vision?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
is that still in practice?
At the time, they were under Babe Ruth baseball. Like the senior, the Cal Senior World Series was played under Babe Ruth baseball.
Gotcha. Let's talk about minor league baseball as it is today. I mean, that's really what I was most excited about. You've obviously spent your whole life in minor league baseball. Were you a baseball fan as a kid? Did you play baseball?
Oh yeah.
So baseball's always been in part of your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So you were a shortstop, I assume.
Second baseman.
Okay.
Little second baseman.
Sorry, that was a cheap shot. but so we started this conversation last night at the bar talking about the state of minor league baseball, and I think the conversation really started was, back when COVID hit in April of 2020. Everything shut down, but minor league baseball took a real hit. I mean, as a business, we were starting to really grow strong with the whole sports thing, and then all of a sudden it was just shut down, and it was shut down for a better part of a year, right?
Oh yeah, they a good year and a half for those teams, and that's there was a transition coming anyway.
Yeah,
and that was with Major League Baseball taking over operations of minor league baseball, and that was something that they saw coming. But a change that big is not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, COVID happens.
Yeah.
So you get that 1-2 punch, and if you just think about how many businesses can survive a year and a half with no revenue.
Right, exactly. Not many.
Yeah, and And then, so they come back and they start having revenue again, but a lot of these changes that they need to make are, they're not easy. Yeah. They're not just simple ones, and so they're going to cost some money. Yeah. And that's exactly what these teams don't have right now.
Right, yeah, especially during COVID, I guess. Exactly. Let me back up a little bit, just so, especially for folks that don't understand the whole structure of minor league baseball. Just walk us through the simplicity of what the leagues are. So there's single A, double A, triple A, and these are all affiliated with major league teams. But there's a whole bunch of other independent leagues as well. Explain, I always get it backwards, but explain single A, double A, and triple A, and the relationships to the major league teams.
All right, so it's exactly that. You have short season A ball, which a lot of those guys are brand new draftees.
Okay. So the new kids coming out of wherever, they get thrown into single A.
And then you have 2 levels of, that's low A, that's short season A. Then you have full season A, which is a low A baseball and high A.
Are they played in the same stadiums? Maybe. Okay.
Maybe. So then you get to double A, triple A, and once you get to double A, you're talking about major league talent at that point.
So those are the guys that are going to most likely make it.
Right.
Now, what's the difference between double A and triple
A? Triple A it's how do I describe it best? It's almost a place they need to keep bodies, because you got at that level.
Those are the guys that are getting called up tonight if somebody gets hurt.
Tonight. That even happens at the double A level.
Oh, really?
Once you get to double A, a lot of times people make the jump right from there to the majors.
Oh, okay.
But if they're in the majors and they, not quite there yet, then it might come down to AAA.
So from a groundskeeper standpoint, is there a big difference between the 3?
From a yes.
Stadium's different, or the fields are the same?
It's a little bit of it's funny to watch the progression of a professional baseball player.
Yeah.
I bet. Like seeing the difference of when they're playing in low A, when they're 19 years old, and then when they're at double A, just the mannerisms and the way they carry themselves.
Well, they're getting paid now too.
Yeah,
right?
they're getting a little bit more.
So they're not living in the basement of Granny Smith down the street.
Oh, they probably
they still are. Yeah, okay, because it's a tough life for those kids.
It is. It very much is. But it's funny to watch them progress and learn how to be a professional. Like the cliche you always hear, you don't get too high, you don't get too low. It's a long season, and you just got to kind of stay steady. And watching them kind of figure that out. Yeah. Because when at low A ball, it's almost like a step above college. There's still a lot of youthful enthusiasm there. And,
yes.
But then, after a few weeks of that grind, and you can see them kind of almost deer in headlights going, what am I doing? Yeah, it's crazy. So watching them grow as professionals is kind of one of the fun things to see.
Did you see a lot of guys that are pros now come through the system?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Anybody really good? You want to drop a name?
Well, it's funny, that Albany team had Vladimir Guerrero.
Really?
Vladimir Guerrero and Brad Fulmer were 1 and 2. They were fighting for the batting title.
And what was the league when you were there?
That was the South Atlantic League.
Okay, and that was double
low A.
It was low A. Okay.
Yep.
So you really did see these kids coming from the very bottom and going through the top.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Quite a bit.
Be able to see all that.
Well, I'll say this now that we're in Myrtle Beach. When the first 2 years I was in Myrtle Beach, Brian Snicker was the manager. So to watch him now, we're in the World Series just a couple of weeks ago.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
It was fantastic.
So he was your manager when you were on that field?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And
Did you send him a quick note saying thanks, congratulations?
Yeah. It's well, the fun thing was, like, my wife was also working there, and she was friends with him. Yeah. He had we got to say tell our daughter, like, yeah, see that guy? He held you as a baby, that kind of thing.
That's cool.
It was kind of neat. And his wife is awesome. Son was running around the field all the time, and he was,
he's now third baseman for somebody.
Well, he was in the Astros dugout because he works for the Astros.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So at one point the camera was in there. My wife is like, "There's Troy."
He's the coach's
and I didn't recognize him because he's gigantic now, So.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
So let's get back to where we are today in minor league baseball. So COVID comes in. The industry is fairly devastated. I mean, what happened to these poor kids that were playing ball? I mean, everything is shut down for the better part of a year.
Yeah.
So these poor kids that were trying to make themselves professional ball players, I mean, it had to be devastating for some of these players.
Oh, yeah. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what they all did. I know a lot of them were trying to work out on their own.
Yeah.
But...
Were they getting paid? Were they?
That I don't know.
assume they were off pay, especially in the minor leagues.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they didn't make very much to begin with, so I don't know how Major League Baseball handled that portion of it.
Where's the step when a kid gets paid? AAA, or is it when they actually get onto a pro team? Is that when?
That's when it's obviously when they get to the Major League level. It's a huge difference.
So it's a massive.
There's a lot of guys that make a pretty decent living. And this is part of why some of the changes were made. You always had these, what they call organizational guys.
Right.
That could play at any level. They could play at AAA, AA, whatever you put them in. It was usually like a middle infielder that could play maybe 3 different spots. And he was a body that they could just move around and fill a roster spot where they need
figure out where he could be good at.
Right. And a lot of those guys, they might never make it to the majors, but they were very, very valuable in the minor league setting.
Yeah.
And they would, they'd make a decent living. And then when they were at home, they could teach batting, have their own school, baseball school.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of those. I mean, they weren't getting wealthy by any means, but you saw some guys.
But it was a living.
They were like, hey, I can make do this for a living until I'm 30-something, and then I'll go be a coach or something.
And play a boy sport all that time.
Right,
I mean, that's not a bad gig.
And you can
Wasn't that all of our dreams? I mean, I always wanted to be an outfielder. I never could.
And these guys know that. They're like, I got plenty of my life to get into something else. I'm only going to be able to do this for a while.
And it's a tough life when you're out there. I mean, you're living literally in the basement of somebody's house and and eating McDonald's all the time and whatever. I mean, I can't even imagine. And how's the travel? I mean, when they travel, how do they do that? I mean,
it's normally most of the time it's by bus.
Yeah, so
sometimes at the major league level they were flying.
Throw them in a Super 8 somewhere and
and
sleeping on the floor with 6 guys in a room.
It got better and better. Yeah, I mean, in a lot of cases, far from the truth, but it got better. I mean, they made it so they could stay in decent hotels. Yeah. They started feeding them better.
Oh, good.
So it's, they are professional athletes.
I was going to say, you'd think they'd want them to eat well so they keep their stamina. And it's, it's a commodity. I hate to say that. But
oh, yeah, absolutely.
What's the stadiums like, especially on the single A, double A? I mean, these are tiny little communities, right? Are they typically well attended? Are the games... I mean, there are a lot. I know more modernly. I mean, a lot of these little leagues. There's some really good, fun baseball being played, and it's affordable. Whereas you can't go to Yankee Stadium and and take a family for less than $1 zillion.
Right.
But so these stadiums. I mean, again, we'll get back into this whole conversation. But have they been reasonably profitable as businesses?
It's all over the board.
It depends on where they are.
Yeah, it really does, and depends on the ownership group and. How they're going to run the business. It's just like anything else. I worked for teams in Kannapolis. We had more ushers than we had fans. We couldn't get people there.
How big were the stadiums? How many people could they hold?
That was a small stadium.
All right.
If we had a 1,500 crowd, we were pretty full.
Wow.
But I think it maxed out at like 4,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
So now you had places like Altoona. I always bring that up because it's Altoona, Pennsylvania, but you had that was my favorite stadium that I worked in. That's the one I drove up to and was like, wow, this is just a beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
And
how old was that stadium?
When was that
when
built?
You got there? You got there 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah, so that was built, I think, in 99.
Okay, so it's relatively modern.
Yeah.
Post Camden Yards, which really started the whole reinvention of baseball stadiums.
Yep. So they did Altoona draws pretty well. That's a AA market.
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach was always a very unique market because of the tourist area and all that kind of stuff.
You get a lot of tourists coming into that, I guess.
Yeah, so any given night, you might get a walk-up of some ridiculous number.
Wow,
because
that's cool.
People just come off the beach and decide, hey, let's go see a game.
Wait, there's a game right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, it was a little weird. A lot of times Sunday nights was my best night, which is unusual because that's when the tourists are coming in. That's their first night.
Go see a ball game.
It's like, hey, we're not going to the beach yet. Let's go see a ball game.
Yeah. What were the tickets cost?
Oh, gosh. I don't remember at that time.
Probably nothing.
I mean, when they were in Kannapolis, I mean, it was ridiculous. I think our most expensive ticket was like $7 or something. Right. And
yeah. And you can get everything going for that. That's kind of funny. So let's talk about, after COVID, I mean, you had started this, and I interrupted you, of course, which is my style. But the whole league has started to consolidate, if that's a fair way to say it. But explain to us, where is minor league baseball today, and what is this consolidation? What's happened? And I guess it was expedited by, it was in plan, but it was expedited by COVID.
Yeah, it's the plan was to, I think it was 40 teams they had to drop. So they had to get down to 120 teams.
And they is who? Is that
they meaning
minor league baseball?
Major League Baseball is making
Major League. Okay, so they made that decision.
So instead of having those multiple levels of minor leagues, they're like, I think we can squeeze this down. I don't think we need that many teams. And they had it so each team was going to have 4 minor league teams under them instead of what was potentially 7 in some cases.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
why would they have 7 teams?
It was you had
just because they had that many kids that were running through the system.
Yeah.
Are there less guys running through the system now?
That's exactly it.
So that's what they were trying to do.
Exactly.
And is this an economic decision? Is this a financial concern? All right. So they're trying to consolidate that cost of the players, and I mean, is it working?
I don't know.
From baseball?
Yeah, so, I don't know. And that's to be determined.
And this is just because it just really happened. So they dropped 40 teams.
Yes.
Was it evenly spread among all teams, all the major league teams?
Yeah. It's, what happened was a lot of the lower level meaning the short season.
Okay.
They changed that. They made a new league called the Draft League, the MLB Draft League.
And this is what was the old short season.
Right.
Okay.
And it's not officially an affiliated league, but it does have the MLB stamp on it.
Okay.
So these are guys.
And it's still a feeder league to.
Yes, they are drafted. And so the age and the talent level doesn't really change a bit.
Right.
And so in a lot of cases, those teams are okay because their business model didn't really change.
Yeah.
So.
And where are these? So where are they now, or where are they being housed? Are they in some of these older stadiums? What happened to the stadiums of the 40 teams that were dropped? Have they gone to other leagues, or are they just
sometimes they go to other leagues, sometimes they go to the independent leagues.
Okay.
In some cases, they just shut down completely.
Yeah.
It's really all over the place.
And these were all based on, I'm assuming again, finances.
Yes.
So they would shut down a place where might not have been getting a lot of attention. A lot of fans.
It wasn't even. It's more geography because they're trying to limit travel.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So a lot of it has.
So
to do
somebody
with that.
bean counting up top is looking at the whole spreadsheet and saying, "Okay, this is where it's going."
Exactly.
So we're now from 7 down to 4. Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah.
So each team essentially has what now? You have a draft team. You have a single, double, and triple.
Yeah, you still have AAA, AA, and then A ball.
Okay,
that's how it's going.
Is A ball draft league?
No, draft league is completely separate.
Okay, so that's a whole different group, but it has. Yeah, it's. I need a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
I need to see this on the wall because this is not.
We need a whiteboard.
I need a whiteboard for this. Yeah. This is getting much too complicated. Are there less ball players coming out, or are there just less opportunities for the ball players that want to get?
Well, there's plenty of ball players coming out. It's just that I think they realized they didn't need that many.
Yeah. How many guys? I don't know if you know the answer, but how many guys would any one MLB team have on their extended roster, all the way down to this now?
Well, that's the thing. That you have
hundreds, right?
Yeah, and that's if you figure if they have say 6 minor league teams. And your major league team, there's, let's just call it 30 for an even number on each one of those. Right. That's a pretty big payroll.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. So, although none of them are getting paid a whole lot, but still, it collectively adds up.
Sure.
I assume all of these teams are what, the Yankees call their farm team.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, are teams still... baseball's changed so much over the years. I mean, you get so much. I just was reading on my way over, all the guys coming out for free agency. Are the farm teams, the farm groups, still as powerful as they have been for some, or some teams better at having build their own interior? I'm now a Yankees fan, so the '96 Yankees, they all, the Big Four all came up through their minor league system.
Right.
And then other teams, they buy their guys and shift them all around. So I mean, is this going to consolidate that, or are teams still really trying to build that talent at the farm level?
Yes, they are. I still think you're always going to see, and this is just my opinion,
going out and buying somebody really good.
Yeah, that's always going to be part of the game, especially now. I mean, it just doesn't happen anymore that somebody stays with one team throughout their whole career.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're going to want to build from within if they can.
You would think so.
There's really no point of having a minor league system if you're just going to pilfer off everybody else. But
are there teams that do it better than others?
Sure.
Who's really good at it?
I mean,
today
these days it's hard for me. I haven't been in minor league baseball to see it very much. I know the Braves were obviously very good at it.
Yeah, seems like it, right? They finally won the World Series. Thank goodness.
It's funny, of all teams, when I was with the Pirates, they had a very good minor league system.
Yeah.
It's just that once anybody got any good, they
sold them off. They sold them right out.
So once they got to the highest level, they just...
Hey, man, you're worth something. Come here. Would you like this?
Yeah, exactly. There was one time in when I was in Altoona, every Pirate affiliate made the playoffs.
Oh, really?
They had
were that good
coming up.
They were that good.
There's no question.
Yeah, the Pirates are notoriously it's almost a criticism of them, but that league, that ownership, they tend to make their money by trading off and selling off talent, right?
Well, that's what they figured out, and they came out and finally admitted this. They made more money when they lost. So, and that obviously the Pittsburgh fan is a pretty passionate one.
Yes, I grew up in Pittsburgh. I was a big baseball fan in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. So they were not.
Roberto Clemente has been my hero from day one. I've always worn number 21 if I could.
Right.
Yeah. But it's a great sports town. But yeah, I mean, they've always had that reputation, and they were, they had a couple stretches there where they were really, quite powerful. Won a World Series for a bunch of years. So you are now working for DuraEdge. Explain to us what DuraEdge is, and let's talk about what DuraEdge is. But I also want to ask you, how did the change go from leaving, the grass growing business into, as we say, this side of the desk? Yeah. What's DuraEdge?
DuraEdge we are specialists in everything that has to do with infield skin, for baseball and softball. Okay. So DuraEdge material, we are known mostly for our infield mix.
Yep.
We're now in, I think it's over 75% of professional baseball.
Oh, there you go.
Has either our straight mix or has done our field saver process.
Yeah.
And now we have mound clays, conditioners, and top dressings. So anything you would need for your infield skin.
So all skin related, though. You're not dealing with grass anymore.
Right, exactly.
Was that a tough change? I mean, you must have spent a lot of your life working on skins. And skins, for people that don't understand that term, if you're not a baseball person, it's the infield. It's the infield. It's just the covering of the infield, which is mostly clays, right?
Yeah,
it's calcine clays or different kind of clays.
Yeah, you have your dirt material, your core material, and then it's usually, I say, 1/8 of an inch of a top dressing on top, and that could be calcine clay, it could be expanded shale, or what's known as vitrified clay.
Okay. Yep.
So.
But you spend a lot of time. Explain to us, too, that I've always been fascinated. I've been fortunately in my career, been able to get out to a lot of team building events. And building the mound is absolutely a fascinating science to me. I mean, I've watched, guys from the Yankees, and the Mets and a lot of teams, doing these demonstrations. I'm like, that's fascinating. Then you watch a game and you see this, this pitcher doesn't particularly like this landing, so you guys have to run out and fix the mound so that their foot hits just exactly. I mean, it just baffles me at times. But explain for those who don't know how this is. I mean, it's a science, right? I mean, it's an art, really.
Yeah, and it's funny. That was kind of the progression of where infield dirt came from and taking care of those dirt areas. We used to say, it's much more of an art than it is a science because you did everything by feel. And, DuraEdge came in and blew that out of the water because that's what Edge became they put the science behind infield skins, and it's something that had never been done before.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's whether you had good infield mix just depend on where you lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What were you getting typically back in the day before some of these types of products came around?
You had some Pennsylvania had a good source. Down south.
Just local clay material? Is that what it was?
Yeah, so usually they had a material. They may have mixed it with a little more sand or something like that, but it wasn't really engineered. So
it was
screened.
And, So it was a local clay source mixed with some sand, and that's what the skins were.
Right.
And how long ago are we talking about?
Probably late 90s anyway.
Really?
Because I think Edge came on the map about 2004.
Okay, and products like yours, obviously, you've got competitors. I mean, so that industry started to develop in the early 2000s.
Right. So when in Edge, that's why with this process, with the engineered soil process, that's why we can replicate it so consistently. It's
always
exactly what it is, and that's why we can go and do it in Utah, and we can do it.
And it'd be the same thing,
yeah.
So college, high school, a major league stadium, it all can look the same.
Right.
What are they always the same color, or do you ever have to go to like Boise and do a blue infield like they do in their grass? Can you do that if you wanted to?
That's a good question.
That's a stupid question, but I thought I'd ask. Well, that's all right. It's always this orangey kind of reddy color.
The Edge product has a very distinct dark brown color. It almost sometimes the professional blend gets so dark it almost looks purple.
Oh, really? So you could tell from watching a field that
it's very distinct.
Yeah.
Usually, once you see it, you can walk on a field and pretty much instantly tell if it's Edge or not.
So let's talk about this mound thing because I'm always fascinated about it. You're a grass grower and you're building this mound for a guy that's making $45 million a year and has a very specific foot placement for his pitch. Do you have to change it for whoever's pitching? So if you're out there, I mean, and this might be...
it's you hear the stories about, they'd even talk about it on the infields where the third baseman likes his area a little more wet than the shortstop and all that kind of stuff. I was always in the minor leagues. And,
you get what you get, kid.
It's funny, if you keep it consistent, everybody loved it.
Yeah.
And same thing with the pitchers. Now,
because they know what to expect.
Exactly. Yeah. If you keep it consistent, that's really it. And I would not hear any complaints if it was the same all the time.
Right.
You might have a guy that likes it a little drier on top, but I got very, very. I can only remember one pitcher, because the mound was a little wet. Yeah. He would like to remind us just to keep it a little drier when he pitched. And that was one guy over a 20-year period. The rest of it was...
How do you keep it dry? Just put a little bit more clay on top?
It's maybe the pregame watering is a little lighter. So you water during the day, and it's something you do anyway.
Evaporate out.
But you might not hit it that last time before he comes out.
So talk about the pressures that you guys as grass growers, I mean, especially when you were at Ripken, I mean, the pressures had to be pretty intense because you had so much volume, but the normal everyday minor league baseball turf manager, what's the pressure like for that guy? Obviously, game day's got to be pretty unique. He's got to get set up. Are they playing, how many games do they typically play in a stretch? Is it like a typical National League? Professional league, they're playing a couple homestands and then they're gone for a couple weeks?
Yes, and that's, it could be anywhere. With the new system, they have a much better schedule. It's really 6 on, 6 off.
Yeah.
You might have a span where you get 12.
Yeah.
But every Monday they're off now. So at least on Monday you're going to get an off day.
You can breathe, or you can airfly, you can do whatever you need to do.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Back when I was doing it, it could be 3 games, it could be 6, it could be 14.
Yeah.
It was all over the place. So the pressures, it always had to do with weather.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
You had to always, because think about it, you don't play the game, you don't make money.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So that game had to be
butts in the cedar, you got nothing.
Yeah. And you can't just play the game; it has to be played safely.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest pressure. When's it going to rain? You know, if you had multiple people asking you every time you walk by them, it's gonna rain, it's gonna rain, it's gonna, you know.
So you guys are always sitting there with your hands on the edge of the tarp on a cloudy day.
Yeah, it was that was the part where, you know, as I got through it, you know, I would just make up little games for myself every time somebody asked me, right. Is it gonna rain? Yes. You know.
Yeah, get out.
But you know, you get a complex. You'd walk through the stadium, and I literally had this happen. Like, office members were turn and run because at that level, all the office staff had to come out and pull the tarp. They see me coming, and I saw it's like they dive into closets.
Right.
So they would
run away.
So, you know, you asked about the transition from one side of the fence to the other. For me, dirt edge was perfect because I was a dirt,
you've been working with
I was a dirt guy
Yeah.
my entire career.
Yeah.
I didn't, like we talked about before, I didn't have a turf degree. So while I learned that as much as I could, like, there's not a dirt degree. You know, there's nobody ever teaches that. So that was the part, you know, I always, on the turf side, I always had a little bit of an inferiority complex, you know, because I didn't have that science background.
Right.
There was no such thing in the dirt side. So on that, I was like, you know, that's where I hung my hat.
That's kind of cool because, you know, as a baseball field, you're managing dirt, the mound, you know, and all that stuff, as opposed to a football guy, it's got just nothing but grass and having to deal with that. So I mean, are a lot of baseball guys just really into the dirt side of it as opposed to the grass?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's
the fun stuff, right? That's the sexy stuff. All right,
that's what. Oh yeah.
All right. So when you guys got together, you just talk dirt.
Oh yeah, and it's.
Football guys get together, golf guys get together, they talk grass, but yeah, you guys talk dirt.
It's all about the dirt and what kind of brilliant thing you came up with to make your
What's
dirt
the magic dirt mix?
Yeah, and everybody had their own thing and their own ways, and you know, you just wanted to wow your friends.
Yeah. So everybody kept their little dirt secrets to themselves.
Well, that's the funny thing. Everybody's pretty open because you want to let everybody know how brilliant.
Oh,
so you tell your secrets.
Brilliant. I love it. See, that's how the industry should be. We should all be telling us about our dirt secrets. You know?
Absolutely.
Everybody's got a little dirty secret, and that's how it should be. Like, we could go a lot of places with this conversation, but let's not. So you're at Dirt Edge now. Are you around? You're traveling and visiting fields. Is that a lot of your job?
So
you're still
huge spreader.
Now you're seeing a lot of guys in the field. So what's the mindset now? I mean, after 2.5 years of really rough time on this industry, is there a lot of guys getting burned out? And I mean, 40 guys lost their jobs, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know,
probably guys you knew.
Yeah. So, you know, there was a labor crisis in minor league baseball before COVID ever hit, and because of the lifestyle of the minor league baseball groundskeeper is not one for everybody. As a matter of fact, it's one for very few people.
Don't get paid a lot, work a lot of hours,
work a ton of hours. Weird hours, you know, the quality of life is poor, you know, so, you know, that's a hell of a recruitment right there.
Yeah, hey, come on, join us.
This is fun.
Job sucks and we don't pay you very well, but, you know, you get to play baseball.
Yeah, you get to work in pro baseball, and, you know, so it was hard to begin with. So the mindset now, I think everybody right now, they're finally getting to the off season. And they're just taking a deep breath and going, right. So that it'll be, so it's, the normalcy is there, but there's still a serious labor issue.
Has the 40 closures helped that, or people moving to other?
Not really, because it was so still bad. Local. I mean, it's the same labor issues that golf is seeing and everybody's seeing, and
golf is 40% off on labor. I can't imagine. So at normal facilities, I was talking to a couple guys last night at the cocktail hour, and it sounded like some guys are just literally 2 guys as a full-time staff, and then they would bring in guys for game day. Is that typical?
Yes. When I was coming up, like when I was in Altoona, I was able to have a full-time year-round assistant. And that was not common. In Myrtle Beach, I had a seasonal assistant. Luckily,
laid off in the winter.
Luckily, I had a guy that went to Georgetown Tech, and would go to school in the winter and come work for me.
Perfect.
So it worked out
for a couple of years. Anyway,
Luckily, I was only there 2 years. So
that's a good reason to keep moving.
And then Ripken was a complete different story because of the
that's
size,
a complex. That's a machine
there. But for a lot of times, there's the fact that guys having a full-time year-round assistants has gotten better. I see more of it.
Oh, good. What are they doing in the winter?
Oh,
lots to do.
There is.
Okay.
There is.
So it's not a bad move for certainly for you guys.
Exactly.
And it can be sold to the ownership.
The way I sold it is like, absolutely. There are some days in January where you come in and you're not exactly sure what you're going to do that day.
Yeah.
But there is always stuff to do in operations. So you might be going and helping paint suites or some kind of construction project over here or something like that. But there's also the way I always operated. I would have all of my budgeting and all of the equipment maintenance and all of that stuff that you're not going to be able to touch once the season hits. Yeah. Because you're just full throttle.
Yeah, much like a golf course. They're just cleaning up and painting and doing stuff like that. So would you recommend to your son or to neighbors, your friend's son, to get into this business? I mean, you've been in this business your whole life. It's been a good life for you.
It's going to get better in the next 3 to 5 years.
Kind of where I was hoping.
For the sports turf manager in minor league baseball, it's going to get better.
Good.
They're standardizing things. The emphasis on safety and quality is improving.
Good.
That's a good thing. It's gonna take a couple of years because of COVID, because of all the things that happened, to have the dust settle.
Right.
I am one of the rare breeds. I was somehow made for this job. This minor league job. I mean,
you taught us an awful lot. When I got to know you at Ripken, I didn't know much about what you guys did, but we've modified a lot of our programs based on the work we got to do with you, and we're grateful for that. But yeah, it's got to be pretty unique.
Oh yeah, and so whether I could recommend this as a job, question. It's one of those things. Like, it is a lifestyle. As much as I don't like cliches, but that's one that's going to attach to minor league baseball, and it's very much true. And so you need to make sure I married the right woman.
Yeah,
that helped.
She knew your business.
You're right. She worked in it herself, so she knew what she was getting into. So it's not going to be for everybody, but you got to fully examine it.
But I mean, there's a lot of sexiness to it. There's a lot of excitement. There's,
absolutely.
Pretty cool conversation at a bar that you're working in there, and all those kind of things. So, are you part of? You got us working with the symposium that's coming up in Savannah in mid-January.
Yes,
that's the tail end of the STMA meeting. So we're going to be there as EarthWorks. Jack and I will be there. And are you part of that association? Are you on the board of the minor league baseball? Or you just basically went out there and hustled us and other people to help out the association, which we're grateful, by the way. We're very excited about this. We're looking forward to the whole opportunity. But are you? So you're not part of any boards. You're just basically doing it as an industry supporter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's something that Durage is so tight with all these guys.
Right.
So we want to make sure we wanted to help provide them an opportunity to get together, talk shop, talk about the things that are specific to minor league baseball.
Yeah. And
it just worked out really nicely to be able to do it in conjunction with the STMA event.
Because they're there anyway.
Yeah, they're there anyway, and we can, then they can have their, private forum to talk about.
So this is a separate day and a whole day of meetings and seminars, I assume, and all that, and then there's a social in the evening.
Yes,
which we're looking forward to. So yeah, that's that. Hopefully, anybody that is listening, that's an event that hopefully everybody in minor league baseball. Are you also working in the major league level? Are you working with those stadiums?
Oh yes.
So you're going head to toe.
Yes, absolutely.
It's got to be a big difference just in terms of being able to work with the people and the people at that level versus the people in MILB.
Oh, certainly, and then even extend it down. Through little leagues and things like that.
And you're doing all that. So you got quite the broad spectrum.
Oh yeah. If there's a baseball field somewhere,
you'll be there.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll find it and you'll work at it.
Yeah.
What's the most rewarding?
The younger levels, the lower levels. It's funny, when I got to Ripken, I started getting to I enjoyed working on those lower fields.
Yeah.
Much more than the stadium.
I would think so.
And it was Fridays when we're just doing the last touch-ups and we're lining the fields, and Fenway was the big one because it's so recognizable.
And you're a Red Sox fan,
so I am not, actually.
You're not? Oh, how'd you get out without being a Red Sox fan?
My family is a split family. Some of us are Red Sox fans, some of them are Yankees fans.
Wow.
I'm one of the Yankees fans.
Wow, thank goodness. All right, you can stay.
Well, yeah, that's it. So, seeing the kids, they're like, wow, there's Fenway. And you see this 10-year-old coming down and getting all excited. And these kids would just go out of their minds. Yeah. And I started getting a taste of that because every field that I worked on, we would have high school games.
Yeah, I bet.
You see the kids go crazy. And that is cool.
Yeah.
That is just really cool.
Yeah.
Seeing how much fun that was and for them, that was very rewarding.
Right.
So when you talk about the stressors and stuff like that, when you see some little kid just going crazy, and then
eyes lit wide open. Yeah.
What's really funny, then the kids would be running down, and then you got the fathers that don't run anymore, but they're walking, but they're just as excited.
Exactly. Yeah, and wobbling our way
and
down.
wobbling, yeah.
Oh, and there's Yankee Stadium, and there's the old. Does anybody recognize the old Memorial Stadium? Only the people in Baltimore.
Very few.
Yeah. And it was an iconic stadium at the time. Right. It was wonderful.
The thing I always remembered of Old Memorial, because you see the highlights, is that screwed up outfield wall.
Right. It was that chop in the wall.
Yeah, it just all of a sudden went down from the corners, and so that's very recognizable. But other than that, it was very plain.
It was a pretty plain stadium. Yeah.
But Wrigley, since we had the
Wrigley,
Ivy,
of course, and you had. I remember the Ivy. Yeah, we were talking about that. So that's pretty funny. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us. It's always a pleasure to run into you at these events, and I'm so glad that we were able to steal an hour of your time. And I know you're busy.
Absolutely.
I just want to interject one story.
Oh, please do, Jack. You don't have to get on camera.
I got to get on microphone. So actually, the first time I met you, I was telling Joel on the way here, was from a rather infamous turf club trip when I was at Penn State, which I think was like 05 or 06 it would have been. And we took like a school bus, hammered, from State College down to Altoona, and had like a great time. And then came out on the field afterwards and met you.
Yeah.
Do you remember that night?
Oh, yes, I remember. Well,
you probably had a lot of drunk kids coming into that stadium from Penn State.
I got to tell the one story. I can't believe it's probably one of the best minor league stories, I think. But we had the speakeasy down in the shop.
Yes, that's right.
We called it Guinea Mac Speakeasy. Right?
Which is a bar.
Which is a bar. Yeah. It's a bar. And we built a bar one off season, and I remember it was coming into March, and it would not stop raining. We couldn't do anything, and we were going out of our minds. So, long story short, me and Matt Neary decide, you know what? We're tired of going after games, all crowding into the GM's office to have a beer. We're gonna build a bar down here. So we just did it. We took scrap wood from around, built this bar, and the best part of it is, I went up to the accountant, and we wanted the whole thing. We wanted a tap system, so.
Of course.
I said, I need a check so I can buy something. She said, what are you talking about? I go, I can't tell you. It's a secret.
That goes over well with accountants.
Yeah, she just looks at me like, are you out of your mind? And she goes, does Pani know about this? Pani was one of my best friends to this day. He was the GM. I go, he doesn't know, but he will love it.
He's going to love this. Yeah.
Unbelievably, I walked out of there with a blank check. So, buy this. It was like 125 used refrigerator that I used. So the night that we opened up, it went from raining to nothing but not a cloud in the sky, and we're having this event for the season ticket holders. The players were in town. I call everybody, say we're pulling tarp tonight. So they come over and they are not happy with me. So we had, decorated the speakeasy, this new bar, and got it all, and we closed the garage door to the shop. I run out on the field, and I tell them, I'm like, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, they're killing me, so come get me. So I go down, and they're just staring daggers at me. I go, guys, no tarp pull tonight, but I got something in back you got to come help me out with. And they're just like, what? And finally, Piney knew me well enough. He's looking at me, he goes, all right, he's up to something.
Okay.
So he goes, come on, everybody, let's go. So I go down there, bang on the door, and I go, everybody, welcome to the opening of Guinea Mac Speakeasy.
Where the name
we opened the door, and they went from staring daggers at me to euphoria. It's awesome. The name, Matt Neary.
Yes.
He's the Guinea.
Matt. He's the Guinea Matt.
I was the Mick.
Okay.
And then our other partner in crime in this was Elsie Zengel.
Oh,
she was a girl that worked with us in Altoona, and she was easy. So
yeah, perfect.
The Guinea Mac Speakeasy.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
That's
and
too
that
funny.
was obviously became sometimes we had some of the best happy hours in Altoona.
Of course. Of course.
Which isn't saying much.
All right, well, we got to wrap up this fun because we're
right.
well over line. But thank you so much. And for those of you who aren't subscribers to the EarthWorks podcast, please subscribe to our little adventure here. And we got a lot of great people on the EarthWorks podcast, like Pat Irish Coakley from Dura Edge. I almost got that wrong, too. But thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, my friend. Hopefully I'll see you soon.